Hey, Clear Lake peeps. How y'all doing? Ross England, Clear Lake Guide Service, with your report of what's happening up here. As you can see behind me, today is a lovely day out on the pond. Smile. Hope you all had a good, safe weekend. Here's what's going on, conditions-wise. We've got water level that dropped to minus 0.15. So looking at about 1.5 inches or so of lake that dropped since last week. No changes in any of the launch ramps. Same ones that were closed last week are closed this week. It's the state park and the 2 ramps in Lucerne, or Lucerne and Keeling Park still. A couple people have asked me, so I'll just tell you, when they close a ramp, it doesn't mean that you can't launch your kayak or you can't launch your float tube out of there. So just understand, they don't want to be having people launch boats off of trailers. So like the state park is a good example. Can't launch a trailerable boat in there, but you can go in there and get your kayak in the water or get a float tube in the water. That's just fine. So water temperature all over the board. You know, believe it or not, one day this week we had a morning low in the high 30s. So it's all over the place. Since our last report, I've seen morning temperatures as high as 65 degrees, and I've seen it as low as 62. And as far as afternoon highs, late last week, I saw some 71, 72 degree water, and there's probably some water even warmer than that. Today, it's 2 o'clock. Last time I looked, it was 66, 67 degrees where we were. There's probably warmer water down at the ends of both arms, you know, like down at the Redbud and Clear Lake Oaks. And we're right in the middle of a little heat up, so, you know, it's going to be 70 degrees in a lot of these waters by the middle of this week. Water clarity all over the board as well. It's kind of like everything is all over the board. Clarity, the best that I've seen is some areas down in mid-lake where I could see about 5 feet clearly. The worst I've seen is some areas up in Lakeport where I couldn't see a foot. In between, probably an average, call it 2.5, maybe 3 feet of clarity overall. It's just, and the water colors are different. You know, this week I saw water over on the North Shore that was kind of milky colored. Down on Monitor, you know, I saw a bunch of foam built up on the island itself. I mean, some of that foam was like a foot and a half high. So it was, there's all kinds of stuff going on around the lake. Weeds are topping out. When the wind gets going, it's going to blow a lot of this floating stuff, this sago or whatever kind of grass it is, and it's going to make mats for frogfish to hide under. I know there's some around already. So those are the particular conditions of the lake. Fishing pressure, you know, obviously was heavy this weekend. So far this week, not so. Like today, I think I ran into 2 boats down south, and I probably ran into 5 boats up here. Probably because I'm fishing in the wrong places, who knows. So that, I think, is a wrap on your conditions. Upcoming events this coming Friday, at least the permit says Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday. There's a team tournament called Bank, I think Bass Anglers of Northern California or something like that. Typically they go out of the Skylark. I don't know what their program is going to be this year, but it's usually not a huge event, so not going to have any issues this coming weekend. Tournament season is kind of winding down here right now, so unfortunately we're going to have some BBTs show up that fish care is probably going to be an issue. But anyway, that's what's going on for this coming weekend. And you know, that's about it as far as the conditions and what's coming up. So all that's good. As far, you know, circling back to launch ramps real quick, I have spoken to a few people who've had a few issues launching down at Redbud. Tends to be trying not at the launch ramp itself, but trying to get out onto the lake. So be careful down there. I think for the most part, it sounds like Clear Lake Oaks ramp has been kind of taken care of. Although when it got bad last year, people launched off the beach. 3rd Street, 5th Street, still in good shape. But behind 5th Street, or on 5th Street this week, I probably had 6 paces to the end of my trailer. A little bit different story at County Park. I probably had 3 horizontal feet from the end of my trailer. And keep in mind, you know, I don't run a 21-foot boat, so tandem axle, 20-footer. Probably going to be good through this month of June. So there's your conditions report. We try to keep up with them as best as possible. If any of you guys or gals hear of a change at a launch ramp or want to share a bad experience on one of the launch ramps, by all means let me know. I know I've reported a couple of times that I've heard that Canoncti Vista dredged out the opening, and I'll just tell you, I've been told both. I've been told that they dredged it, and I've been also told that they didn't dredge it. The people that told me they didn't dredge it were people who were with Canoncti Vista. So for what it's worth, if you want to go out of there, I would go out of there on the trolling motor. Fishing, we'll talk about that a little bit. It's actually been pretty good depending on how you're fishing. The key, as far as I'm concerned, is finding the clearest water you can. We had one day since our last report that we caught fish out to 24 feet, which obviously watercolor didn't make that much of a difference. But the majority of the fish that we're catching are still less than 4 feet deep. A lot of them are either sight fish or fishing around where we know there's bedding fish. I haven't really, I'm seeing guys throwing top water. I saw a boat today throwing Pop-Rs or Ricos, some kind of popper. Didn't see him catch any fish. I tried one morning getting on a little bit of frog action, and we had 5 blow-ups in one little area. Probably should have had 2 of those fish for sure, but bottom line was we never hooked any of them up, so I never tried it again. The main things that we've caught fish on this week was a little swim bait, still, little owner flashy swimmer with a 4-inch Kitech on it, and drop shot. Those have been my key baits. And you know, the fish counts have been anywhere between a low of 6 fish one day to mid-20s. We had one day that we had about 22 pounds because we were able to get a 7.5 pounder. That was a pretty good day, and that fish came on a little swim bait. So the rest of it, it's kind of all over the board. I know that the more time I spend looking for fish, the more fish we catch. So for whatever that's worth to you, just going down a bank and trying to fish has not been that successful for me. Don't know whether it's just me or other people, but you know, fish some community holes to no avail. So for what it's worth, I'm going to continue to stay probably up on this upper end of the lake and fish shallow for as long as the water's clear enough to where I can see what's going on. So I think that's going to be the report for this week. Looks like the wind's starting to come up. My buddy Jeremy's coming in right now, so I'm going to check in with him, see how he's doing. If you like what you heard, give me a like, subscribe, you know all that stuff to do. Thank you very much for listening. We'll try to keep doing this, so have a good one.